So the big question is this: how are creators like us, who aren't built for the 9 to 5, for the people who put their passion before them being comfortable, how do we turn that passion into a living that pays the bills and a life that we love? That is the question. This podcast will give you the answers. My name is Noah Mittman, and welcome to Conversations with Creators. Welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Creators. I am your host and resident video marketer, Noah Roland Pittman, and joining me today is Ian William of Blacklisted Academy. Thanks for being on, man.
Thanks. Actually, I'm going to take this moment to dispel something, right?
Yes.
Ian
We've been
Williams is not
talking a
my
little
name.
bit, and now we're finally recording. So yes,
Yeah.
give it to me.
Ian Williams is not my actual name.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, because I saw you, Ian Want, is that it?
yes, it's Ian Want. And the reason why it's that way, and most people from the parkour community think my name is Ian William, is because obviously Facebook is how we mostly communicate. And Facebook wouldn't let me use my last name because they said it was derogatory. So
Want?
yeah, and my uncle's the same. He has to be Christopher George, but he's Christopher Want.
Why?
Dude, I don't know. I appealed it and they wouldn't give it to
To
me.
be
And I'm like,
fair, to be fair, your Zoom ID says Ian William.
oh, because I logged in with Facebook. Yeah,
Because I had it as Ian Want in my notes, and I was like, "Oh, okay, Ian
yeah, yeah.
Want." Ian
No,
Want, Ian Want. Is that
yeah,
how it is on the business?
yeah, Ian
Okay,
Want,
yeah,
yep.
Ian Want, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I actually don't care because, like I said, I've had that Facebook account for so long, and it's been that way for so
Possibly
long.
be derogatory about what?
Dude, I mean,
That's
I
weird.
no idea, but that's what they decided, and I've appealed it, and they decided a long time. I mean, maybe I could appeal it now, and it would
Yeah.
change. But yeah, back then they were like, nope, that's derogatory. We don't want to let you
I
have that. It's
doubt
like,
it's any better now, to be honest.
yeah, dude,
Yeah,
who
I do. I
knows?
hate. I hate that you have to say unalived somebody instead of killed somebody.
Oh,
That's so dumb.
yeah, yeah. Censoring weird stuff for, I don't know.
Essayed.
Yeah.
Like, all right, can we
But they
just
all mean the
eat?
same thing. That's the problem that I have with all those things. It's like we all know what we're talking about. We're just
Right,
replacing a word we have deemed as bad with another word that literally means the same thing. And one day that word will also be deemed bad. So it's like,
right.
what game are we playing? We're just, you know,
Where it's like the gun on the emojis has to be a green toy gun, and
oh
then
yeah.
and then X brought back the actual gun, and everybody's like, yeah.
Yeah. It meant the same thing the whole time.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like, and it's not like somebody saw like a real gun emoji and was like, I'm gonna go kill someone now.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, unalive somebody. My bad. My bad. Don't want you to have to edit too much.
No, this is going out raw.
There you go. All right.
So we've been talking about Jiu-Jitsu, and you own a Jiu-Jitsu academy. Tell me about kind of what
Yeah, so not
inspired
not
that.
not actually an academy right now. We're still working on that.
Oh,
But
cool.
it's a nonprofit,
That's right.
and we're working up to our own academy so that we can do everything in-house. As of right now, we're putting together events and working with the city of Wessico, and we're working on a deal currently with the library in Wessico to take over the annex in the back
Nice.
of that and work with kids and do a program there to kind of start getting things rolling. But ultimately, yeah, the goal is to get our own space and have total autonomy on
Yeah.
how we do things. Obviously when you work with a city or the library or whatever, you're kind of like
Speaking of which, for the
constrained.
people who don't know, where geographically is Westico?
Wesco is almost as south as you could possibly be in Texas. We are
Perfect.
absolutely like right next to the border, and yeah, that's it. Yeah,
You gotta have the jujitsu skills to get him. No, we're not
yeah,
going
yeah.
into
Yep.
that.
Yeah, you got to stay safe with some jujitsu.
Exactly. No, it's
But I
awesome.
mean,
So it's a nonprofit, and you're kind of, building it and building the culture and building the fan base and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, and not for nothing. I know we were just kind of making a little, slight nod to the joke about that, but honestly, I think it was like we're like the RGV is. I wanted to say it was like last time I looked, it was like second or third in like the most highly human trafficked places in the
Not
United
surprised.
States. So yeah, so it's people can say
That's
that it's
what
like, oh,
happens.
that's a political belief or you're making a joke at the cost of someone's politics or beliefs. Statistically, no, it's
Oh,
not. And I am a father who lives here
yeah.
and have a young daughter and a son. And yeah, I mean, the fear is there and the
Funny,
concern is there. And
I have my beanie right here that I wear sometimes to end human trafficking.
yeah. So, if you it's always going to be a rough shot of
Yeah,
teaching a kid how to defend themselves against an adult. It's never going to be a fair fight in their favor,
yeah.
but it's obviously like the goal to try to even that fight as best as we can. And since we can't hand out knives to kids,
You have a
the
knife. You
next,
have a knife. You have a
yeah,
ninja
it
star.
just Oprah that shit, man. Um, but yeah, so obviously the next best thing we can do, other than train them on how to like notice what a
Right.
bad person might be doing, but also just like, well, we're already past that. I'm being attacked, or someone's chasing me, or someone's hurting me. I
Yeah.
need to be able to hurt them back. And, we don't want them to use those tools willy-nilly, but there is a world where there is no other answer in those situations.
Yeah.
And by arming the kids with the ability to defend themselves, A, will give them the ability to defend themselves against the people who need to be hurt.
Hmm.
Because whether we like to admit it or not, if you're a child and you're being attacked by an adult, that guy
Yeah.
needs to be
Yeah.
hurt
100%.
somehow, right?
No, because
Whether he needs to
otherwise, if they
be,
can still walk or do whatever, they can still achieve their goal of
yeah.
hurting or taking you.
And frankly, like if the worst thing that happens to that guy is that they get their ankle broken because of a straight ankle lock, or they get put to sleep by a well applied rear naked choke, that is nothing in
Yeah.
comparison to what like 80% of the rest of the United States would be willing to do to those people. So,
Oh my God. Yeah.
but then obviously the other goal here is when kids start to really get their hands dirty with martial arts and learning what it means to defend themselves or be put in a bad position, they start to have a greater respect for what that means.
Hmm.
And a great example of this is anyone who actually does fight like competitively, they're usually some of those people, except for like, God, what's his face? The UFC guy, Nate Diaz.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Short of like crazy dudes like that who are willing to fight at any
Dude, he's
moment,
nuts.
your average person who does fight or compete or whatever is usually the person that wants to de-escalate because they
Yeah.
know how insanely bad a fight can be.
Right.
And by instilling that respect into kids now would be a great way to make a lot less assholes when they become
Oh, 100%.
adults.
Well,
So,
and I mean all the tenets of like hard work and respect and,
yeah.
getting goals and stuff.
Not
We
judging a book
honestly,
by its
I'm
cover as well.
completely agree. So like one of our absolute requirements for the kids, and they're still pretty young, and we gotta start when money gets a little bit better. But absolute requirement, no questions asked, is martial arts.
Yeah. I mean, even if they don't fall in love with it,
No,
um,
it's
you
just
know,
it's required skills for life. Just to
yeah.
be again to be able to de-escalate. Like I remember I've been oh God, it was years ago, but I was hanging out with some buddies that were jiu-jitsu guys, and there's a drunk guy at a bar, and hassling the bartender, and he just picks him up, walks him out, dumps him on the street. That was it, and
Yeah.
it was very quiet, very quick, but it was because he had the knowledge.
Yeah. And not to touch on kind of like another pseudo political
Oh, let's go.
conversation, but as far as like self-defense goes and like strangling somebody, if you don't know what you're doing, strangling somebody is going to probably have a lot of really bad consequences.
Yeah,
However, if you have practiced it a lot, strangling somebody and putting somebody to sleep is not very dangerous. It's not very harmful to somebody, barring like previous medical issues or obviously hanging on to the strangle for way too long and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
stuff, right? But if
Once
you're
they're
that
out,
person
let
that
go.
really knows, you put in that rear naked choke, they go to sleep and you immediately let them go. It's kind of like you just hit the reset on their brain. It's like they go to sleep, they come back, they're a little confused, they're kind of groggy and stuff, and they're like, I
Yeah,
don't even know what happened. And the cool thing about that is you get to disengage and leave, or get that person detained before they can even fight
right.
back and cause more harm for other people.
Well, I mean, I
And
think anybody or any kid who's played like the pass out game, uh,
oh yeah,
yeah, like that's kind of the same. It's like, oh, I'm here, but like you're not gonna be in like fight mode after that.
yeah, you're gonna be so out of it. And again, this isn't me saying I want people walking around strangling each other in society and stuff. But to say that we don't need that to have as an option is kind of like ridiculous because you say, "Oh, the police are going to protect you." It's like, A, what if they decide not to?
Right.
And B, what if they can't get there until something's already happened to you? Because
You
that's
don't want
literally
to
what
rely on
police
response
are
time.
there to do. Is
Yeah.
yeah, they're going to respond to something bad happening, but they're not going to intercept it necessarily when you need it to be intercepted. And that means that you have to be able to like hold your ground long enough for them to get there and then intercept.
Yeah.
And if you can put somebody to sleep for a little bit or take their back and just kind of hold them
That's what
because
I
they
was
can't
gonna
really
say.
hit you, you know?
I saw a fantastic it was a reporter out doing like protest stories and you know what happens when you go out there and people get mad. He started getting swung at and he literally just got him into a hold and they're like, "Hey, call the cops." And he just kept him
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't going anywhere. Like he couldn't move. So
And
he
I
just
and I
he de-escalated with with skill.
Yeah. And the cool thing is I think grappling, whether it's judo, sambo, jiu-jitsu, like wrestling, whatever, those skills are particularly interesting to me because you can fully de-escalate like a physical interaction without like long-term injuries.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're a striker, sure, you can put that guy to sleep, but the way you're going to put that guy to sleep is going to be very impactful.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And we've all seen like YouTube videos and Twitter videos of stuff of a dude getting knocked out, his head hits something on the way
Oh,
down. You don't know if that guy's dead. You
no,
don't
yeah.
know if that guy's brain damage.
Well,
Yeah,
no
he's
matter what,
done,
hitting the
but
ground when you're out cold is like not healthy.
yeah, not super great for you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a grappler and you really know how to control somebody and get to their back, um, you don't even have to put them. You don't even have to put them to sleep. You just kind of like ride their back for a little bit, and they
Yeah.
will they will get tired if they don't know what they're doing. Having a dude just put them in a body triangle from the back,
I was gonna say,
and
what's the forelock with your legs?
yeah, body triangle.
Yeah, body triangle. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's what he did. He was just like, sitting there, and the guy was like, "Let me go." He's like, "No,
I
you
don't have
hit
to.
me in the face.
You
I'm
hit
calling the
me.
cops."
Yeah. You waived your right for me to let you go to do that again.
You
I'm
started
now going to hold you
it.
until you get taken away by the police. And that's the most favorable things that could happen to somebody who
Oh yeah.
doesn't know how to fight, fighting a guy who does know how to fight. And don't get me wrong, I don't think grapplers necessarily know how to fight, but they certainly know how to restrain.
Yeah.
And I think that's a skill that's worth any human being having, especially if we exist in a society that is constantly talking about protecting our women, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, not only just the kids, but women as well. And, having that ability to restrain somebody, even if you're not strong enough, fit enough to beat them in a physical altercation, but having that ability to literally just grab onto their back and know how to like get them down, get them broken down to the ground and making sure that their strikes are ineffective or that their movement is ineffective until somebody who has the tools,
Right.
literally either physically or actually like a tool that can help you, not get hurt. I mean, everyone needs to know those things. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever actually had to use it in real life?
Dude, so this is the thing that always kind of like gets me sad, right? Because when I was a shithead and I wanted to fight people
Right.
and I had no formal training, I was out there getting in fights all the time. Now I know how to fight and I don't necessarily want to fight, but there's always, you trained for it. So there's always that part of you
Right.
that wants to like,
Test it
man, I
out.
wish somebody kind of would try me just a little bit just so I could see it in action when it matters most. And but no, dude, ever since I've learned how to actually like hold myself, I think there's also like a
That's the point,
mentality
though.
to it because I'm not like I don't get shaky when people start getting crazy with me. I don't get aggressive back. I don't have like the same mannerisms of somebody,
Right.
who maybe doesn't train but is trying trying to be the big dog and stuff like that. I'm usually very calm, and I think there's something extremely unsettling about somebody
Oh,
who
for
doesn't
sure.
waver that deters people who are trying to get that like reaction out of you.
Especially
And
you're like smiling just a little bit, just like, no, 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 don't.
yeah, somebody who's
Come on.
confidently just like, brother, we don't need to do this. I'm not going to tell you why we don't need to do this, but I
Right. When you
promise
say we
you,
don't need to do this,
we
that's a
don't need to do
bad sign.
this.
You're gonna get
Ye-
fucked up.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. I actually just had a dude who like tried to run a red light and smash into the side of my car because he
Yeah.
just didn't want to sit at the red light, right? And then these guys are like, throwing up their hands and everything, and I was just like, all right, so come on, like I waved them, and then they followed me. I pulled off to the side of the road. They pulled up next to me, and they were, to my dismay, they were two gang-oriented folks
Oh joy.
who like tatted up faces and
Yeah, yeah.
everything and threatening my life and all this other shit like that. But I just stayed, I didn't back down. I was just like, dude, all I'm telling you to do is just think that other people have families and kids, and you wanted to run that red light because you couldn't be bothered to wait 5 minutes. And if I had a kid in my car, or somebody else had a kid in their car, or even if I didn't, but I have kids at home, and you smash into my car and destroy my life because of this, because you're so just selfish that you
Yeah.
can't just wait at a red light for a while.
Take a
Like,
breath.
that's the shit. You can say you want to beat me up, you could threaten me, you could threaten my life, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You're still the guy who's out there making these dumbass decisions
Yeah.
that you're just putting society on edge because you're too cool to like abide to basic road laws, like whatever makes you want to do this shit. And then by the end of it and everything, like the guy in the his passenger seat and everything was just kind of like looking forward and like, and then the other guy was still going at me, but I just stood my
Maybe you had
ground
them
and
think about
everything.
life a little bit. That was good.
Yeah, and then they just, like drive away and turn around and everything, and it's just like, dude, yeah, I'm not gonna back down to you. Don't get me wrong. Like it was an unnerving interaction because A, they outnumbered me, but and B, like dudes like that don't want to fight fair or
Yeah, I was
honorably.
gonna
So
say
I'm
they
assuming they
probably
had a
have
knife or a
a
gun
weapon or
or
something.
maybe they even just go pick up a rock at the side of the road and smash me in the head with it. Either way,
Right.
it's not gonna be a fair fight. I don't want to have to do that. I'm probably not gonna win that. Or at least if I do win, I'm not gonna come away like, oh, I'm just gonna dust
Feeling
my
good,
shoulder
right,
off and
right.
go home and live my life. I'm probably gonna be hurt. So it's like I didn't want to have to do that, but also at the same time, I was right. And they need to have some kind of awakening of just like, dude, I understand you're trying to be hard. I
Right.
understand being a man in the way that you think you're being a man right now. But how about you being a man in a way that allows society to function well without putting people in danger just by driving to the gas station? Like you could have hit some dude who's just like, I'm just gonna go get some candy for my kids at a gas station, and
Right.
you just barrel into these people, change their lives, all because what? Why? You had some drugs
Got
to deal
impatient.
somewhere and you had to get there right now. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, the drugs can wait, bro. You can be 5 minutes late for your drug deal or whatever the fuck you're doing, and it's like, I don't know. But it seems like I got through to some
Yeah.
degree to these
No, I mean, it
guys.
sounds like
And
you've definitely been in situations where it could have happened, and part of the training is to like, yeah, you don't want,
yeah,
it's an interesting balance of like, you could, but also like you don't want to get hurt, and
yeah.
yeah,
And
that's a fair response.
and the other element to that is like me having a family now. It's like, well, there's the little rat inside me, the young man back in the day that used to want to fight. That guy's still like kind of in there.
Hmm.
And certainly there's that part of me, as I alluded to before, that wants to test and see if I'm capable of handling
Right.
myself when it matters most. But then you have the family, and you're just like, dude, like I need to provide safety for my family and stuff, and me getting stabbed is not going to do that. All as right as I might be about traffic laws.
I was gonna, well, speaking of the family stuff, like we actually had when we first found out about all of like how really big of an issue the child trafficking is,
Mhm.
my wife was like, if we didn't have kids, like I would just want to do that full time, like just go, join our rescue and like however we can contribute, go do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
we have our own family to raise.
Yeah, and it's really hard to ask that of people who or like, when you have your own slice of the world finally,
Yeah.
you've slaved your whole life. You've been the dude working at McDonald's getting shit on, and
Right.
you finally ascend to that next bracket of existence where it's like you bought your first house. And maybe it's a shitty house, but it's your house.
Yeah.
And it's your family and it's your financial problems, but it's like, you know what? I'm happy with these problems. These
Yeah.
are my problems. These are my family's problems. It gets really scary to start thinking about going out there into a world that will happily take your life to continue what they're doing. Because like child traffickers are not emotionally intelligent human beings in the sense
No.
that like they're happy to blast through whatever is in their way to continue doing what they're doing because they've already decided to do what
The worst
some
thing.
people would consider to be the worst thing that
Yeah.
you could do to somebody,
Yeah.
and it's like these people aren't going to make better decisions. They're not going to look at you and be like, this guy's trying to stop me, maybe I should hear him out. It's going to be like, this guy's going to stop me, I'm going to get destroyed, but I need to keep doing what I'm doing
Well, yeah,
so
it's all
this guy
about the money for
dies.
them.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah,
else
they've already
matters.
made so many horrible decisions for
Yeah.
what amounts to fucking nothing because our money's not backed by shit. So they're already doing that for nothing.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily nothing, but you think they're not gonna kill you. You know, they're
Oh
not going to
no,
put you in a
so fast.
hospital. They're not going to take you away or anything like that. It's like, and for people who already have families that care about those things, it's a really risky decision to be like, man, this work needs to be done. But God, I got this little one at home that needs to make it out the door
Yeah.
first, you know? And
Well, and like,
yeah,
that having them be good humans and them, doing good in the world, like that's your job as a parent is to like raise a good person,
yeah.
and make sure that they survive and all that stuff. So, like, that's you can do the extracurriculars after they're out of the house.
Yeah, yeah, and as we kind of alluded to in our private conversation and stuff, it's like people that haven't raised kids. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, teachers. Even I'm talking to you. If you're a teacher and you don't have kids, I understand because I've worked with kids for 12 years now, and I thought the same thing when I didn't have kids, where it was just like, man, I am probably very qualified to be a parent. I have 12 years of working with different personalities, different physical needs, different mental needs, and all this other stuff. And I've been working with 40 kids at a time for years, So it's like I have the numbers, I have the stats. You still can't fully fathom like the decision making that goes and how much almost like fear it instills in every decision that you make.
Yeah.
Because if those decisions aren't spot on, if you don't keep yourself safe or yourself healthy, and then that trickles down to something that happens to your family and your kids, those are just, you just don't have the experience or what's at stake to truly understand where a lot of parents are coming from. And I'm not saying that
Well,
every
like
parent is a saint, but
even like no matter how much experience you have in the teaching, in the whatever else, I think like really the only level of like care and emotion that can even come close to it is like adopting.
yeah.
But like you like the people that don't understand that like you would give your life, you would like I would anything that I have to do for that kid, I will do.
Yeah.
Period.
And I think the people that don't have kids take statements like that because they hear it all the time. And
Right.
they're like, "Oh,
Oh,
it's like
sure.
that's a very common thing for a parent to say." But it's like,
It's
how
true.
many people would you die for, Mr.
Yeah.
No family, no, two friends that like you've probably interchanged numerous times
Yeah.
because, for whatever dumb social reasons you've chosen for yourself.
But no,
It's
like
like,
this, like you don't get to like, well, if you're a good person, you don't get to quit.
yeah. And that's the other thing, right? Is it truly tests how good of a person you are because you can't, well, I guess you could quit a kid,
Right.
but it's very obvious when you do, and it very blatantly makes you a shitty person,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of parents, whether they soft, like quiet quit their own kids and stuff like that, they're still not fully like, they're even when they have one hand on the wheel, it's still not the same as like what people without families uh do. It's like, will they fully eject away? It's like, man, full ejecting away from a kid is really hard.
The
Yeah,
wild thing, man. I literally don't understand how anybody can do that.
yeah, and not every parent is weirdly enough born with that, which is which
Yeah.
is kind of crazy because it's like you think evolution would have killed that part of us where it's like we see a kid and we don't be like, okay, parent time, I'll figure it out. I'll be a dad. Like,
Exactly.
and especially with like my background and stuff, it's like, my own dad wasn't necessarily there when I needed him most and everything. So for, I was kind of going into my marriage because it's her kids.
Yeah.
We didn't have them together or anything, but they're my kids now.
Yeah.
And there's always that part of you that's like, I should be qualified, but let's see what happens when we get there. And you're kind of always like, I don't know, from my perspective, I was surprised at like the result, even though I figured that's what the result would be. It's like I'm gonna lock in a little
Yeah.
bit more
Yeah.
and actually take this really seriously. And it's like, well, you could say you'd think that's what would happen, but then you do it and you might be shocked at the
I
end
will,
result. It's like, oh,
and
I actually hate
I'll
this or
say
whatever.
it's the hardest thing I've ever done, and it's incredibly rewarding. And like every big hug and every, cuddle is worth everything.
Yeah.
And but yeah, man, it is. I get like there are times when like you're so exhausted and your brain's just like, no, just give up. It's funny. Like, what are you talking about? There's no give. Like, no, this is
Yeah.
I signed up for this.
Take a breath, and then you're back in the game. Like
Yeah,
that's just you get
exactly.
a moment. You can go cry in the bedroom when things are hard, and then in
Go
three
do some
minutes, it's
go
time to
do some
cook dinner.
sauna time and come back and you're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And that's another thing that's like shocked me that like because again I actually did like the work that I've done over the last 12 years with kids. I know there's some people that work say, like again parkour people or gymnasts, right? They kind of grow into being a coach in those sports
Yeah,
because they like doing it. But then when it comes to teaching it, they come from a very selfish place where it's like I just want to be paid to do my
right.
sport. So
Yeah,
this is a way that I could do it. So when they actually start teaching and working with kids, it's kind of like they're not very good at it. They don't
yeah.
really want to commit themselves or whatever. And, I went through that phase when I first started working with kids as a coach and everything. My first year or so, I was I was like, I just want to be here to train. Like some of these kids are real assholes.
Kids can
But
be
then,
assholes for sure.
yeah, but then as you kind of like learn your craft and stuff, you're kind of like, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe this kid is an asshole. Maybe I just am approaching them wrong and I need to adapt. And when I started finding that sweet spot, I kind of fell in love with the idea of just like figuring out the puzzle of each kid and
Yeah.
how to make any given community work. And then it became less of this like emotional stress and more of this, I don't know, like rewarding puzzle solving scenario. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Sullivan, no, it's completely right. It's every kid's different. So
Yeah.
talk to me kind of about we talked a little bit earlier, but like how your journey with jiu-jitsu and kind of how it's evolved over the years.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was doing parkour for like 12 years, and I was at a gym on the East Coast in Connecticut called Adaptive Movement. And my passion for parkour, not coaching necessarily, although I was getting burned out coaching because I was doing it so much, like 12 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week for years. Um, my passion to do the sport was starting to like really die.
Mm.
And then at that gym, they had a little corner dedicated to martial arts. So I'd see all these guys that I worked with like a couple times a week go to that back area and then come out and they'd be disheveled and sweaty and they'd be like patting each other on the back and joking and laughing and having like almost like I know this term is kind of like looked down upon negatively now, but like a boys club, it
Yeah.
was like a good old boys club.
Doing some
And I was
masculine
just
stuff. Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, and I was just like, man, like, I mean, parkour does not really have that, and the few communities that
No.
do, it's very rare. So I was just like, man, I think I really miss that.
Yeah.
I think I really want that. And then I tried it, and it took me about a month to be like, this is what I needed. And turns out the basis for me needing that was I was a really lonely guy. I
Mm.
was a really lonely adult. I was working mostly with kids 12 hours a day and
Hmm.
and yeah, you're around people, but they're not fully developed human beings. They can't have real conversations yet most of the time. So it's like you're kind of talking to what feels like a really elementary AI sometimes where
Yeah.
it's like is this a real conversation that we're having? Or am I
Yeah.
just kind of like talking at a wall right now sometimes? And or it's just brain rot memes at this point, right? And I kind of like craved, puzzle solving with adults, talking about real adult issues, because it was 5 straight years of me basically just being around kids, and then my
That's
roommate.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and it felt like I was almost like isolated from the world. And coming to jujitsu, obviously, it's very adult oriented, very man oriented.
Mhm.
And it was just like, oh, dude, I didn't realize how much like I needed this hole filled in my soul because it's like great to be like wrestling around with a bunch of rough and tumble dudes like you're 15 again, and you and your homies are just wrestling in the backyard or something like that. And it's
Yeah.
like, but this time we're doing it with our brains turned on, and
Yeah.
we're solving problems, and we're trying to trick each other, and I don't know, it was just meant a lot to
I
me.
had an interesting similar kind of thing when I got into ice hockey, where it's definitely more, it's physical and it's like you got to really work at it, but also like because again, like we know each other from parkour for many years and in that community, but like I missed it. I missed like the team sport element of like we
Yeah.
worked together to do this and got the goal and now we're high-fiving and it's like it's just super fun.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I did parkour, I would blaspheme team sports. Like
You're
I was
right,
just like,
right,
team
right.
sports are
No,
stupid. I don't
we
want to
do
be the
our
guy
own
that goes
thing.
out. Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that goes out there and strikes out, and now the whole team hates me, and we lost
Right.
this, the championship. But there is an element to team building that I did miss, and I didn't realize that until I found
Yeah.
jujitsu, because it was that perfect balance of like, I am on a jujitsu team. We are working together to get better. We are trying to beat each other, but not in a destructive way. And then when we go out there to compete, I want to see the guy that kicks my ass kick the ass of every other guy in his division, just like he wants to see me kick the ass of every guy in my division. And
Yeah.
we're out there by ourselves. We're not gonna like lose some championship because I lost my match. It's all
Right.
on me. But also at the same time, when I come off that mat with my gold medal, there's 10 dudes there ready to give me a hug and tell me, hey, you earned this, dude. We've been there with you. We
Yeah.
put in that mat time with you. We know how good you've gotten. You truly have earned this moment. And that's the level of
Oh,
teamwork
it's
that
so
like
good.
I had missed.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
I love that.
I don't want their experience to ride on my shoulders, but I do want that like,
Yeah.
hands in moment at the end of the day.
Exactly. No, having doing high fives and knowing that you achieve something together is massive. I think the only thing I can think of in like a parkour scenario that's similar to that is like achieving like a group video shot where like
The
everybody does their
train.
own thing.
Yeah.
But that's like the one scenario. Most of it's not that.
Yeah. And even then it's like there's almost a double-edged sword to that. If you're the guy doing the big thing,
Right.
and then like the people doing the little tiny things are just like not hitting their thing, and
Yeah,
you're just
you
like,
just have to
dude,
wait.
I'm gonna die here if I screw my skill up, and oh, you kind of didn't land your precision exactly
Yeah,
perfectly and everything. It's like, dude, I don't care about your precision. I'm,
right.
doing a roll
Oh,
bomb
you
off of
didn't
like a
quite
6 foot tall
exactly.
object, bro. I'm
You're doing
gonna,
two flips in the air and you're trying to land on a ledge.
yeah. It's just like this is not gonna work out for me if you don't hit that damn ledge. But yeah, it's not that I ever felt that way. I was never the guy doing the big move in the chain, so I guess I never had that burden on me. But I could certainly see where that might be like, dude, you better do your shit, man.
We had one this is like super niche inside baseball stuff for like the parkour community. Maybe I'll link the video down in the description, but for the I used to be on a parkour team called Tranquil Movement, and we did have one day where it was like all the entire team was doing something in a group shot, and every single skill was scary. So like we all like I was doing a double backflip. It was like early con gainer days, like double cork,
Oh yeah,
like real, just like everybody's like, okay, okay, here we go.
yeah.
And that was solid because there was no just like, oh, and then you're gonna jump and do a pre here. It was like, no, we're all like going hard right now.
Yeah, back in the days when a double cork, like screwing up a double cork, felt like it might be a death sentence or
Yeah,
something.
oh
But
my
it's
God, dude.
now we know better. But like back
That
then
that
when nobody
was
was doing it,
one of the scariest days of my life is just jumping into the darkness of a double backflip. Even though it was like wood chips and I'd done it
yeah,
like 17 times in the gym the previous
yeah,
day, it's still outside.
yeah. It's yeah. I mean,
I didn't die though. It was nice. I broke
yeah. I
my neck
mean,
on a freaking flyaway.
funny enough, that's actually like how I learned about you was you
Really?
breaking your neck and
Oh
then
my
your
God.
recovery videos and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's actually when I was telling my
That's
wife, it's like,
crazy.
oh yeah, I've been talking when you and I started talking on Facebook again through the political posts, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been on this guy's posts that I haven't talked to in a while and everything, and seen from the parkour days. I'm like, oh, the reason why I knew him, he broke his neck doing a fly, wasn't it off like a bar and it snapped
Yeah,
or something
it
like that?
broke.
Yeah,
So it was the dumbest. I shouldn't have done it. It seemed solid, and I was like in my show
yeah,
off mode. So yeah, it was like basically like a little bar. It was in a photography studio, and they had like a light bar up top, and it
hmm
was screwed in, and I like hung on it, and I could hang the weight. Literally, as soon as I committed, it broke out of the ceiling. So I was
yeah.
like, I was actively moving up, and yeah, it still hurts. I'm excited. I've been doing been learning more about like copper and magnets for healing because
hmm
I fell on my thumb this last winter playing on the lake, and it was just hurting for months. And I finally got this little like copper bracelet with a couple magnets in the middle, and it's helped. So next up, I'm gonna get a necklace, and hopefully it'll kind of help with some of because it's still like chronic. It's not like crazy, but like I can't like do headbanging anymore at concerts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I got super lucky with that. It was I broke the C7 process. So not like my actual spinal cord, but like you have these little offshoots on the side, and I kind of fractured one of those. But anything with your neck is not good times.
yeah, I think if I remember your recovery video or one of them that I saw, I don't know if there was multiples or
I
whatever,
was just one, yeah.
but yeah, I think you were trying to do a Webster and you were like
Oh
talking about how
yeah.
scared you were and everything. And I was just like, and doing what was funny was like when I saw that, I was just learning parkour
Yeah.
and I could not do a Webster to save my life. So from my perspective and everything, it was like, oh, you were talking about like the simplicity of like it's just a Webster and all this other stuff. It's like, motherfucker, I can't do a Webster. It's like you're talking about having, recovering from a broken neck and being scared to do what
It
you
was,
see as a
dude,
basic
it
flip.
was pretty,
I
yeah.
couldn't do it to save my life.
I could probably still if I had like some height and a pad, I could probably still knock a Webster out.
I
So for anybody who is like, what the fuck is you talking about on this business podcast? A Webster, a Webster's where you're doing a front flip and you kick up 1 foot behind you and then you tuck and do a front flip and land. So it's like a one-footed, but like you generate your own momentum. So that's like again, relatively simple, but if you're just starting out, it can definitely be freaky. But I was what, God, that was 2012, so I was like 7 years into training already ish.
2012. So what? Let's
No,
see.
no, no.
Okay.
5 years.
Do you know what? That was actually my first year. That was
No
literally
shit.
my first year of training.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
I started in high school.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I
Yeah, I
started earlier.
was I was 24 when I
Wow.
started or something like that or
Nice.
26. I
Yeah, yeah.
can't I'd have to like do the math in my
Did
head,
you
but it
get
was
better at Webster's?
I did well, so that's actually one of the tricks I know I could like crack off. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta
yeah,
warm my hips
exactly.
up and everything first and my ribs, but like once I warm those things up, I could crack off a Webster like no
Yeah.
problem now.
The people that do it
Even
on
to this
flat
day.
ground are that amazes me. They just like land straight back up. I'm like, that is so
Yeah,
much
like
power.
super like erect and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
like
The
chest
trickers.
puffed
Oh my
out. Yeah.
God.
That's like near the end of my time. It's funny because I could do Webster's, but I would land very like, like precision like where it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
I was kind of
Oh, me too. I
compressing
never
down.
landed high.
But by the end of my active time training, I was getting that where it's like a big step out with my lead leg and everything and landing
Yeah.
on one foot and on flat ground. So I was just like it's funny because it was like it's a basic skill, but here I was like 12 years into training and I'm trying to get that still trying to get that really pretty step
Perfect.
out Webster and everything like
Yeah.
that. And yeah, so it's crazy how long some of these sports, you could dedicate yourself to them and you could do bigger moves. I've done double corks, I've done double side flips, I've done roll
Cork
bombs.
was the one that it just always haunted me.
Mhm.
Uh, because I got the kick the moon first and then did the cork, couldn't do the kick the moon anymore because my body just wanted to like do that. And
Yeah.
and then I just lost it.
Yeah.
I lost it
Dude,
and I couldn't get it back.
yeah. What was funny is I was the opposite. Corks came weirdly natural because first off I didn't backflip very like most people learn their backflip kind of early, right?
Yeah.
It's like backflip, front flip's usually what they did. I was scared to rotate, so I did side flip.
Yeah.
Backflip was horribly scary to me.
Oh, I was
And
terrified.
so I had people in the gym being like, dude, what if you just did like a cheat? You just kick, kind of like a Webster, or like a cheat gainer or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I could try it. Maybe that'll help me get over this fear. And I kicked, and then as soon as I went upside down, I freaked out and wrapped and did like I didn't land the cork, but it was like the
Oh, that's
perfect
how it
setup to
feels.
a cork.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was just like, and I like landed on my hip, and I was like, what just happened? I don't even know where I was in space. Just like, dude, that was like could have been one of the most beautiful corks I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, so I ended up once I really put my mind to it, I learned I was landing corks super comfortably on flat
Nice.
ground in like a couple days, and still didn't
That's
do.
one of my favorite looking moves in general, I think.
Yeah, corks were always like, especially like out of a run, you just did all this
Yeah.
crazy
You
stuff.
get that
You
big, like,
land one
nice kick
step.
out at the end.
Oh yeah, it was Vinny that always was the one that made me
Oh,
like super sweaty for
Vinny
corks.
has probably Vinny just has the most gorgeous movement I've ever seen. I think he's still going a little bit. He does gym stuff. I'm
I
so
think
happy, man. He got
yeah,
healthy. He found some good meds and yeah, because he had oh God, I'm gonna space it. It's gonna be terrible.
cystic
Yeah,
fibrosis.
cystic fibrosis. Um, but yeah, I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, he was actually the one that almost ended my parkour career. If Vinny hears this, because me and him have seen each other, or we played video games with each other since then, so he knows I don't actually like have any ill
Yeah,
will
yeah,
to him or anything like that. But we were both working at Hardcore Parkour in Vegas when that
yeah,
facility
yeah.
was trying to come up, and we were putting together an event, and we had to move one of these massive heavy boxes that we made, and his grip strength gave out, and he dropped it, and it landed on my already blown meniscus knee
Oh,
and I could not fucking walk. And like that weekend, I got a friend to take me back home, drove me from Vegas back to my home in Arizona to be with my family because I couldn't walk anymore, I couldn't work, couldn't do anything. And yeah, that's when I got into like CrossFit and rehabbing
yeah,
myself.
yeah.
And
Yeah, because
I
you don't the rehab well again because like so many of the parkour people are just kids. Like you don't think about actual like rehab and getting
think,
healthy, and
yeah,
everybody's hurt all the time.
yeah. And luckily for me, that was kind of like the first touch that I had with, dealing with like a serious injury
Yeah,
and taught me how to get better.
yeah, that's great.
But yeah. Boy,
Absolutely.
this we are so far off
I know,
base.
I love it. That's the
No,
thing.
but
Like
it's
it's
cool
just
though, because yeah,
this
we,
is
we have so
my
much time in the sport and
it's my Rogan moment. We just kind of talk about random shit and then get back to the
yeah, and it's interesting too, because there's not for nothing, there's not very many people that I want to talk to that came from the parkour
Yeah,
community.
yeah.
And I mean this in the respect that I am an old man at this point, and the people in the parkour community are much, much younger. And I understand why there is a big, like, I don't like existing in that social space. It's like
Yeah.
I'm an adult and I don't necessarily want to hang out with, 20-year-olds that use brain rot terminology all the time, and they're not
God,
thinking of
yeah.
the future. They're thinking about right now, which is cool. You need to do that from time to time, but I also like talking about bigger, harder things to talk about,
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily have those capabilities to do that. And so when I get to talk to somebody that has come from that same background and had a lot of those similar experiences and has also ascended into adulthood
Right.
properly, it's like, oh man, it feels different. It feels
Fun.
rewarding and
Yeah.
fun. Whereas if I tried to talk to a parkour person now, I'd be like, dude,
Well,
I'm not. This doesn't speak to me anymore, man.
and
It's not.
it's actually interesting. Like, so one of my really good buddies, Justin Schaefer, who I think a lot of the parkour community knows, like we had, well, so he was really the guy behind it, but we did Jump Fest for a lot of years, which was like a really
Mhm.
big gathering, camp out for like a week, and we had TED Talk style talks and all this thing. And part of why it ended was exactly kind of just childish behavior, like just people doing ridiculous shit that like didn't used to happen, like the newer generation.
Yeah.
And you're just like, this isn't even like fun anymore for like the
No.
older
Yeah.
people of like, why are we dealing with this? This is so stupid. And now again, it was part of like permitting and part of like him moving to Asheville and all that. But like it was definitely, we had a good run and we had time. And then there's just, these scenarios where people are just doing ridiculous stuff that like really I have to tell you not to do this? Like, what
Yeah.
are you 12? Like Jesus. And these are like, 18 and 20-year olds.
Yeah, well, and in some cases, like surprisingly large amount of like elder 20-year-olds and early 30-year-olds that
Yeah,
are also still mentally acting like
right.
their early 20s and stuff. And it's like, dude,
Tell you
it
what, on the family thing, nothing throws you into being an adult more than having a kid.
yeah, yeah.
Or dealing
It,
with kids. Like it's and being the father figure, like that is like, oh, I need to figure my life out. Here we go.
yeah, and I think, that starkly contrasts against trying to exist in the bubble of parkour.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm literally surrounded by a bunch of adults who are living by the seat of their pants. And now I have a family and I have to provide for them and I have to make money and have a
Right.
house and make sure my kid's safe. And it's becoming harder and harder to justify going out to these jams just to be maybe chased out by cops or
Right.
business owners or the business owners that I feel bad for. Like
Oh,
I
100%. You're like,
identify with these guys. It's like,
I'm sorry, we broke one of the stones in front of your wall, and like
yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of the parkour people kind of, not for nothing, act like vandals in that regard. Where it's like we broke it, seems like a you problem. We're leaving now.
Right.
And it's like, but here I am being like, guys, like we did fuck up. We do need to fix this. And in our generation, I know you were technically kind of like a 5 year or 10 year block before me in parkour, but like our generation of people came up on the whole like leave no trace
Right.
methodology, and that seemed to have somewhere along the way got lost. And it's like, but now I'm the old curmudgeon that's like,
Dude, that's
you
actually
motherfuckers need
that's
to
funny because
stop.
you say that you say that you're like I'm like the previous generation and yet you're older than me. That's hilarious.
Y- Athletically, you
Yeah,
were,
yeah.
several years before me,
Oh, that's
before I even
great.
got into the sport. But yeah, it's like, we really did both come up in the golden era of like
Oh, a
online
hundred
person,
percent.
being online for
100%. Like
parkour and stuff where there's
not
all
to diss
these.
on what it is now, but like it is the community aspect. I think other than like what store in the UK have going on,
Yeah, they're the only ones
it's like
that have taken it to another level. Only ones
I
left.
feel like the at least in Denver for sure the community is just like it's all just people random people getting Instagram clips now.
Yeah, and yeah, like
It's not
stores
that
doing crazy
like
stuff. I
full like hey
know.
we're gonna get 20 people together for a jam and have a great time.
Yeah, I know Renee and Tom are also still trying to like make real moves and stuff. I
Yeah.
haven't been in touch with any of the Apex guys. I don't know if they're even still like, in the
Apex
space
Boulder got
anymore.
shut down.
Yeah, I heard about that. And obviously I know about like Apex Hartford and stuff since I
Yeah.
was one of the ones that was there. Um, but yeah, so I think it's, if I could probably count on less than one hand how many people are actually still out there trying to do.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about communities existing. I know the
Right.
communities still exist. I know the people are out there still banging away, going hard.
The parkour
But there's
gym is a
very,
hard model.
yeah, well,
It's
I mean,
really
you have to
hard.
invest so much to get it started and
Yeah.
then hope that the numbers shake out long term and stuff. And it's like,
Right.
dude, how do you justify, 40 grand worth of building on top of your rent and the loan that you had to do and then maintenance and
Just because you want to train.
yeah, just because you want to jump on shit, which ironically enough, we've had for free the whole time. Just go to a public park. We didn't need, I mean, there are elements to gyms that we do need for sure. Like a
Yeah.
foam pit,
Oh my
man,
God.
you
Yeah.
will see so much progress when you have a good foam pit and a good crash pad to like work off of.
Yeah.
You, but I was part of that generation, and admittedly, I never went on to do too many super big tricks, and that's because maybe I didn't have these resources to start. But I had to learn all my basics, like all my basic flips and stuff. There was a concrete grill at a park that all my friends and it was about 4 feet high, that we just have to like, I guess I'm gonna try a Webster today. I guess
Right.
I'm gonna try a side flip, and it's
Oh
on
my
grass, hard grass.
God.
And
I
then there's,
see.
you have your sand pits and your
I'm
phone.
way
Or
too much of a pussy for that.
that's what like my
I
whole
was
group back in like Havasu.
5280 gymnastics is where we all started. So it was like,
Hmm.
gymnastics gym. So foam pits everywhere. All the floors are padded. You can get crazy
Yeah.
power out of anything. Like, my first, you talked about having trouble with the backflip. I was so scared of it that I had to lay on a block and then roll up and then
Roll
they would
back.
just
Yeah.
push me over.
Yeah.
I couldn't even do it myself. They had to push
Hmm.
me over into the foam pit. And then to be fair, by the end of that day, I got it. But I was
Yeah.
like, I could not commit to it.
You wouldn't have done it without those resources,
No,
is the
there's no
point,
way.
right?
If I was just
And
outside, there's no way. I
we
couldn't even
didn't.
get on a trampoline.
Yeah. We did eventually get in cahoots with a local gymnastics gym, but they didn't have a foam pit. It was literally just it was a
Oh,
cheer
it must
gym
have
more
been
than anything.
tiny.
Yeah, it was a very small local gym. They had a spring floor that was like had a bunch of dead spots for the cheer. And then we had some, the big boulder blocks or
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Grand Canyon blocks and spotting blocks. And then they had a tumble track with a crash pad at the end.
yeah.
So it's like, if you were going into a skill that you had absolutely no idea what you were doing, there was no soft foam pit for you to like
Right.
land on your neck in and be like, okay, I won't do that again. Right. It was like, you had some crash pads that are that thick that if you do land on your neck, you're still screwed.
The only
So
reason I got a flyaway at all was literally it was the simplest thing, and it's how I taught it to other people too. And I'm not a coach, but they're just like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, literally swing, and I'll tell you to let go, and you let go.
yeah,
And because you had the foam pit, you could, you come around, you're like, "Oh, there I am." But
yeah,
if I didn't have that foam pit, there's no way I was doing that.
we had to do it. There was a bar set at the park where that
At
same
the
concrete grill
park?
was,
Oh
and
my
we would do it on the
God.
wood chips. That's how we had to fucking learn
Oh,
that stuff, dude.
but I
So
think that
scary,
like
man.
that really like you just had to nut up and do it, which is I think, and we're going deep into the culture now, but I think that's how the Russians got so good.
Well,
Was they're
dude,
just
so
throwing
that's what
stuff
we noticed
outside.
when we would travel. We didn't have as big of tricks, right? But we were willing to do all our tricks like
Right.
everywhere,
Try stuff
right?
out
Like
outside.
you wanted to do your front flip on like a thin wall. We're gonna fine. We know we got it.
Yeah.
But then these kids who like now they're fantastic athletes. Don't get me wrong. They would crush me if we ever tried to do a trick off, right? But at the time, they were very gym oriented kids.
Yeah, yeah.
And half the time they spent their training time at jams like trying to like, "Ooh, can I do this thing?"
Yeah.
And it's like,
No, the whole
have you done
outside
it a million
culture.
times in the gym? Yeah, we have, but I've just never. It's like, dude, like
Yeah.
we were crashing onto our faces in wood chip pits. We don't care anymore.
We
And
had we had the mentality for outside training days that if your hands aren't bleeding a little bit, you didn't go hard enough.
yeah, yeah. And and don't get me wrong, there's lots of destructive behaviors that go along with our old training mentality of just go outside and do it and
Right.
everything, for sure. I do think now with time, lots of time behind me, there's wisdom to like get really good in a safe environment, really, really good at a safe environment, and then trust your numbers from there. Once
Yeah.
you do go outside, just know
Well,
that
because
you've done this a million times.
the muscle memory kicks in.
Yeah. Even if you screwed up and you slip a little bit,
Yeah.
there'll be a surprising amount of like time slowing down kind of effect where it's
Yep.
like I got this, I know where I am in space, I know how to land safely on the ground. And once you've crashed enough on like concrete and stuff like we did, it's like your break falls, you know how to like land and disperse the energy and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it's just like, hey, like
So I like the
like
big jumps outside because nothing you can do a roll as many times as you want on like a soft floor. That first like 10 stair or whatever, or like jumping off at
yeah.
10 feet, you better have a good roll or it's gonna
You gotta
hurt.
have yeah.
And it's still probably gonna hurt.
And a lot of the crazy part is in those early days, those first 2 years, I spent so much time literally like practicing jumping off like a 4 foot wall, 5 foot wall onto like a concrete sidewalk to practice my rolls for when the day came that I fell off of like a 10-foot wall and I
Yeah.
needed to hit my feet any way I could and get any roll I could out of it. And dude, I remember those days where it's like, our buddy Anthony would literally like drill sergeant style, like get on the concrete, get on the sidewalk, do your rolls. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, I don't want to do rolls today. It's gonna hurt my shoulders. I don't care. Do the fucking rolls. And we're like, oh, you suck, dude. All right. But looking back at it, it was absolutely like the
Oh,
right thing to do
100%.
because you have to pay your dues
Toughen
on the roll.
up.
There's no easy way around a roll. You have to do it on concrete. You have to fuck it up a little bit to where you're like, ooh, I don't want to do that again. Or oh, I
Yeah.
hit my tailbone or my hip. I don't want okay, that
Exactly.
was
And what that gives
wrong.
you is fantastic rolls and you are, I mean, and talk about, preventing injury. Like that is the
Yeah.
number one thing for preventing injury.
And kind of circling it all back, now I have all these skills from those old school parkour days that when they
Yeah.
wrap back into jujitsu and somebody throws me and I take a big fall, dude, I get back up from like brutal. There's a Sambo champion that came down here, a Russian dude. And the first time I was rolling with him, I'm not very good at stand up in comparison. He's literally like, kills me in stand up. And he does this drop Seanagi on me and just tosses me super hard onto my back. But my parkour training kicked in. I just like rolled really nicely out of it, twisted around back into my guard, had my feet between me and him, and he got the takedown, but he didn't pass my guard. He didn't submit
Yeah.
me, and it
I'm
was just like,
excited. I'm
phew.
excited to roll again, to be honest. I love the parkour roll because I had such a smooth one.
Yeah. I
Uh,
prided myself on my ability to
yeah.
roll on hard surfaces and stuff. Yeah.
I'm actually very excited to do rolls again. That is
Yeah.
that is the level of impact I'm at now at almost 35.
Yeah. And anytime I go to a class over, I train at a gym called 80/20 in Edinburgh. And when they do the line drills, where it's like you're warming up and you're doing all these fundamental skills that nobody wants to do and stuff, and they're like, "All right, guys, dive rolls." I'm like, "You motherfuckers are
Yeah.
about to get a show!" Like,
Yeah, you want a 360 one?
yeah, it's no, but I don't go super crazy with it, but I do try to like make it like really, arced and pretty
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Eye
And
rolls are
I
great.
cover the mat in like two rolls while everyone's, five, six
Everybody else is
rolls and
making it like
everything.
son of a bitch.
Yeah, like
Parkour,
what?
baby.
Yeah, like you guys should have done other sports. It helps.
That's great though, because it really does. It shows you like it translates to so much other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because I do hold parkour in this weird space where I am so thankful that I took the time to do it. And there are so many things I'm mad about, like because of parkour. Now here I am, near 40 years old with the injuries that I have and the experiences that I've had. And there is, for all the good things, there's a little bit of bitterness tied on to it, especially on the social side with,
Mm.
how that community kind of operates and stuff. And, but overall, I'm so thankful that I did it because regardless of what sport you end up in, especially in America with a lot of the traditional American sports, man, you want that ability to take a hit and get back up.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
soccer, you get slide tackled, you want to get back up. You don't want your shin to shatter, you don't want your shoulder to break, you don't want catch yourself going face down hand like with one hand and shatter your wrist or
Yeah.
something.
I will
And
say that like because of all the bails from parkour days of like how much pain like just rolling the shit out of your ankle is. When when I get knocked down or I fall or I slip or whatever in hockey, like we have pads on, right? You're padded up.
yeah,
So
you
like
kind of just take the hit.
I've hit the goal before at like full speed with my back because I have like a back pad on. Everyone's like, "Oh shit, are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm great.
Yeah,
This doesn't hurt. I'm armored up right now."
yeah. Yeah, I think the worst fall that I've ever taken when I was working at Freedom in Motion at their original location in Temecula in California, and or was it Murrieta? I think it was technically Murrieta, but
Temecula
it
sounds familiar.
South by San Diego, kind
Yeah.
of. But they had a really tall box, and I was doing this run and I slid the box like next to a concrete wall on a
Mm.
concrete floor, and I left maybe about 3-4 feet of space, and the goal was to do this big stride up to a step or safety vault, whatever you want to call it, and then drop down into the slot between the wall and the wall I was step vaulting, and then roll out the other direction. And it was like a muggy day, and my hands get really sweaty. So in the mugginess, my tigers, my Onitsuka tigers, were really grippy, but my hands were
Mm.
really sweaty. So my foot hit and it stuck like glue, and my hand hit and it slid out like it was on
Oh,
butter, dude. So I literally went down into the slot head first and like hand going down to the ground like that, catching myself literally falling like 7 feet down to the
yeah.
concrete floor head first
Oh,
with
Jesus.
nowhere to like flatten my body out. I had to hit it. And then I kind of did like this little weird funk roll thing where it's like I hit my hand and then I had to deflect to my shoulder and then roll across from this shoulder to
Oh
this
my
shoulder and
God.
eject my hips out the side,
Ah!
and it absolutely like obliterated my wrist and my elbow for a long time. I actually
Yeah,
ended up
dude,
training with
wrists
a
are rough.
Caleb from Rilla Hops in California shortly after that
Yeah.
at UCLA, and I
I
was
still have
complaining about
these
my.
handy.
Hey, there
My
you go, there
little
you
wrist
go.
guards.
Yeah. And yeah, but the thing is, like, yes, I walked away with a significant wrist injury, but I know for a fact it would have been a forearm break
Oh
if
yeah.
I didn't do all those things that saved me. And again, all of it comes back to parkour, and it if you
It's
want a
being
sport
aware of
that,
your body in space and like
yeah,
where that's the main I think that's where a lot of injuries for people that don't haven't done anything physical is like you can break your leg, walking off a curb because you don't know where your body is in space and air awareness. Like, oh my God. Uh Mountain biking is something I've gotten
Mhm.
into. And when I was a kid, every time I would go off a jump, I would fall, period, no matter what, because I'd freak out in
Mhm.
the air. Now, because I have air awareness from parkour,
Yeah,
I can actually hit jumps and have a good time. You just
yeah.
have to know where you are in space, and it applies to everything.
And a little part of like not overthinking it too, just like letting it happen.
Yeah,
Like you're through the
exactly.
air. You don't need to change anything right now. Just
Yep.
like,
And good. No, that's
yeah,
exactly right. Just let it go, and I've almost I've had a couple close calls, but like nothing. Haven't been thrown from the bike super hard.
yeah.
But no, exactly. I think that's massive.
And
Um,
oh, go ahead.
no, I was yeah. You had a point.
And I was gonna say, there's an event called ADCC in Jiu-Jitsu, and it's the Abu Dhabi Combat Club. It's basically our Olympics. It happens every 2 years, and to get to ADCC is already a great honor. Like if you can call yourself an ADCC vet, that's huge,
Yeah.
right? And it's like more rare than being on like the NBA or something
Oh
like that,
wow.
or the NFL, right? Nobody gets to do this. And so there was a match between technically a purple belt, but he was a really great wrestler. So he earned his way through a tournament series called the ADCC Open and made his way to the main event. And so he this is purple belt with a lot of stand-up experience going against a grappling superstar like Nicholas Marigali, and he's like one of the top guys to be insanely good. Nobody beats this guy, right? And this purple belt has a lot of stand-up experience. Went to do, I believe it was like a Uchimata, which you kind of like turn your hips towards your opponent's belly and then lean forward and kick your leg between their legs and kind of toss them, right?
Okay.
Very like martial arts throw. If you've
Yeah,
ever
yeah,
seen
yeah.
anything in martial arts, you probably know what I'm talking about. Well, for some reason, Nicholas puts his arm like way out to post and catch himself in this fall. And he's like damn near upside down at this point. And anyone in parkour or gymnastics knows like as soon as you see it happening, you're like, you are gonna break your shit. And then he breaks his shoulder as soon as
Oh,
it hits the ground. And it was funny because when it happened, I was just like,
yep.
I knew that was gonna happen. Like, and I'm not as good at jujitsu as Nicholas was, but because again, the gymnastics and parkour background, you're like, you see it coming from a mile away. Like, bro, should have just gone to your
Ooh,
back.
that's
You
not a
should
good
have just
position.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
should have just went to your side or your back or something, man, because you're not catching that shit.
Yeah.
And he ended up losing the match instantly because he broke his shoulder and that was it. And
Damn.
he was the guy poised to win the whole tournament, and he got taken out by a purple belt who knew how to do it, Uchimata. So
There you go. You have
yeah,
the right move at the right time, and you're not. Yeah, it's all together. That's actually no, that's a perfect thing. So like, how do you kind of for you like competition, self-defense, discipline, body awareness? How does kind of all of that work in with your training and with your teaching?
yeah. So I used to focus on like competitive jujitsu, and still I run a lot of what I'm willing to teach off of what works in competition, right?
Yeah,
You do have to separate jujitsu competition from like MMA competition because there's obvious rule differences there that
yeah,
make certain techniques in jujitsu absolutely useless and or make them extremely powerful, right? So you do have to kind of look at, what scenario are you training for? Is this a person who wants to learn self-defense? Is this a person who wants to compete? Or is this a person who's just kind of like, I was a Joe Rogan fan and I kind of
mm,
just want to do something as I'm getting older that keeps
yeah,
me fit and I don't want to get punched in the face, right? All these mentalities have like different desires at the end of the day, and there's not a one size fits all for all these people. So you kind of have to assess what this person wants
yeah.
first. And so for me, it was I wanted to compete. I wanted to be Gordon Ryan, I wanted to be Craig Jones and go out there and beat the crap out of all these people. And that stuck for about 3 or 4 years. And at that cross section of capable enough to do it and young enough to keep going
Right,
and
right, right.
stuff like that. But now I'm kind of like really enjoying just seeing how ridiculous I can get with just jujitsu, just grappling. How lazy can I be and still beat like the best guys at this gym or at this open mat or, I'm essentially training myself for my old age, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like, I know I'm going to be 40 soon. It's not going to get easier unless I start taking steroids. So, um, so I want to be able to move at like 30-40% physical effort and still shut down or be a hassle for the best guys in the room
That's a great goal.
with that much physical effort because I know one day I'm going to have zero cardio. I'm going to have old man cardio, no cardio. No matter how much I train it, there's going to be a ceiling on that. And I intend on doing this for as long as I can, and I intend on being as useful for as long as I can for my family.
A hundred
So,
percent.
so my personal thing is trying to be like Roy Harris, where he's very slow and he absorbs you, and he's not particularly in shape. He's pretty old at this point, and you just can't, dude. He just literally just draws you in like a python. And I think his nickname actually is Boa for that reason, if I remember correctly. Um, and just absorbs you, and he can move at the pace of a snail. And I'm like, dude, to me that like when I experienced that myself, I was like, I feel like that's kind of true mastery. Like he's not breaking a sweat, and he's
Right.
kicking the shit out of these hyper fit dudes. And if I can do that, at his age, that's a fucking huge win. Because
Oh,
I,
massive.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, I got
Well,
in
you're
so
still
late.
moving.
Yeah, I got in so late that there was no chance I was ever going to be like ADCC world champion, because I was
Yeah.
already like 30 something when I started. And ADCC world champions are like 27,
Yeah.
28.
Yeah.
Some of them are 21. And it's like, the odds are against me. Not impossible, but the odds are against me. Let's start planning ahead of time. Let's get really like academic about it
Yeah.
and be in our brain and strategic, not so much fast and hyper strong and, physical. So I'm still weirdly strong. Like jujitsu gives you like weird strength.
I'm
Like
excited to get it. I want that. I want that strength.
it it's kind of like a really good representation of like old man or dad strength.
Yeah.
Where it's like if you ask me to throw a football right now, I might blow out my shoulder. But if you ask me to like wrangle another guy down to the ground
Right.
and like beat him in an exchange, easy. I don't even think I need to warm up for that. And so it's really weird because it's great for when you're past your prime for explosiveness, like you can't like whip your arm really hard or like whip your leg really hard or flip on flat ground with like no momentum because you just don't have that fast twitch ability anymore. And it's like something you can do well into your old age. And I know
Yeah.
numerous guys who are like comfortably 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus who still do the sport and are an absolute nightmare on the mat. And if you looked at him, you'd be like, dude, I could take this guy. He's just some old chubby dude. Doesn't matter. And then you roll with him and you're like, this guy's gonna kill me, dude. He's gonna actually kill me, and I can't stop him. And he's moving, he's moving like he's thinking about what he's gonna have dinner, tonight. And I'm sitting here fighting for my life against this guy. So it's
No,
interesting.
I'm very excited for that kind of, fighting for your life and like, really again, just the fight or flight and the putting yourself into that situation. 'Cause it's just you don't run into that anywhere else really that you can
Yeah, and
control.
and with the striking sports and stuff, like a lot of people think they want to get into like striking, like Muay Thai, MMA in general, boxing, stuff like that. And it's man, the beating, even from just like training with good partners that you can receive,
Oh yeah.
just getting
And get
clipped
punched in the
one
head.
time. Yeah, just getting clipped one time by somebody who's not even trying to clip you, but timings and you go in right as they kind of just put their fist out, and you're just like, dude. Like, I think I have a concussion. I think, like I don't feel good anymore. Like my neck is super like
Yeah.
messed up. Whereas in grappling, if you have a good room, I'm not saying injuries don't occur in grappling. They do, totally. Don't let anybody ever tell you that they don't. People who say that jujitsu saves their lives, but it also messes up their lives too. You got to respect it. But with a good training group, you can go pretty hard like every day and still come out like oh, yeah, I'm like a little bit sore. My like kind of feels like I just curled a lot and now my arms are kind of tight because of that or something like that.
Yeah.
But you can keep going, and that's what I really enjoyed, especially at the when I made the transition from parkour. Is I would do one hard day of training parkour, and walking and standing becomes a little bit difficult.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
So as
I my last the one when that like really taught me the lesson of like okay I'm out of this is I did that we went to like an open gym with the kids and they were jumping around. I did one backflip on an air track, one backflip. I was sore for 2 days.
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh okay,
And
that's
don't get me wrong, you're gonna get weird soreness when you transition to jujitsu,
yeah I'm sure
but it's not gonna be that impactful, like, oh my God, I feel like the world is on my back right now
yeah.
kind of soreness. It's just gonna be like, ooh, I haven't used my adductors in a really long time. Didn't realize that. Especially with parkour, it's very like straight line, like every lift, every conditioning movement we do, it's very symmetrical and straight. So even if you did condition a lot, you're still not ready. If you do gymnastics and parkour and that's your primary form of lifting and training,
Yeah.
and then you transition to jujitsu, it's so asymmetrical and flowy. I promise you, your body's not ready for it.
Yeah.
And so you will be like, ooh, that's rough, but it's not going to be that impactful. I feel like my knees are going to explode. Um, can I have a minute? I think my dog is going to go
Yes.
to the bathroom. Be right back. Be
Yeah,
right
yeah, all
back.
good.
He's learning.
We're
Yeah.
back.
Yep. Sorry about that.
No, all good.
It
New
worked out
doggy
because
potty time. It happens.
yeah, well, it worked out. I chugged that water at the start too, so I was feeling it as well. Me and him were in
Both
the
potty
same
time.
boat.
Yeah,
I was about to also just pee on the wall too. So
yeah. Here's gi or no gi.
no gi. So I don't mind gi. I like it. It's spice things up, but I also like, as you can see, I play guitar.
Yeah.
Don't really want my fingers getting wrecked by the gi because I don't know if you know this, but you can like grab the gi,
Yeah.
and when people strip the grips from you, it hurts. It's
Oof.
not very nice. So anytime you watch like a competitive gi match and you see these dudes like ripping their hands off the other dude's gi and stuff like that, I promise you, those guys are like near getting the tendon snapped in their
Ah,
fingers, and it's why you see so many dudes with
fair
their
enough.
with their everything taped up.
Yeah.
So
Good to
yeah.
know. I think I will do no gi then.
Yeah. And you can move, you get to move around a lot more in no gi, right? Like
Yeah.
if you were bad at controlling someone, you will certainly find out really quickly in no gi. Whereas in gi, you can just be kind of like strong, or you could just be really good at wrapping somebody up with the gi that you might not actually realize how bad at controlling another human being is, or
Right.
how bad you are at controlling another human being. Because you're kind of like relying on that material to be wrapped around your opponent. It'd be like assuming like the fighting a naked dude versus fighting a dude who has a noose already wrapped around his neck, right? It's like those are two very
Yeah.
different fights.
Yeah.
You know what I
Greased
mean?
up naked man versus noose.
Yeah, yeah. The
Wait,
grease
hold
up
up.
part is real too when
Who
you're
wants to say
sweating,
hi?
man.
What you got?
Hello.
Got some new boots? Very oh, cowboy boots. We're getting all Montana ready.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that's all. That makes complete sense. Yeah, I like my fingers how they are.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, one last. So, actually, this is perfect because I am in this position. So maybe not scared, but what advice would you give to somebody who's kind of scared to try jujitsu?
Oh boy. The thing I say at the start of any class that has somebody new in it is you are going to be having a hard time. I would maybe even characterize it as miserable for about 3 years. If but if you can survive those 3 years and you really apply yourself to learning and appreciating everything that's happening after those 3 years, because statistically, like I'm gonna just ballpark a random percentage here, but let's say 80% of people that do jujitsu are white belts. They're
Hmm.
people just walking off the street.
Yeah,
They're totally new. Maybe they have some athletic background that makes them pretty difficult to deal with on the mats. But for the most part, their technical ability is going to be pretty low. And if you can just really apply yourself and be the nail for 3 years, at the end of that 3 years, 80% of the people that you will deal with in jiu-jitsu will mean nothing to you.
yeah,
They will be so easy to beat and handle that you get to start having fun with it, which is my goal at this point was like, I don't want to have to go in and feel like every dude I'm fighting, I'm fighting with my whole ass and I'm trying not to die while I'm doing it. I'm thinking about
yeah,
my cardio and I just want to be like, oh, I want to try this interesting entry to this move or this weird submission.
yeah,
So once you get past that bubble, jiu-jitsu truly does like open up and become fun and almost silly and a lot less miserable.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. It's, in the whole point of it is to get yourself in like scenarios that are uncomfortable and fight
Hmm.
through it. So the learning of all that, you would have to, it's again, it's like doing ice baths. Like you have to try
Yeah.
hard, you have to do hard shit and do uncomfortable stuff to grow and learn. And once you get past that and you get into the groove, it becomes fun.
Yeah, and another way that I would put it is imagine you had to eat a lot of vegetables for 3 years straight. But then at the end of those 3 years, you would never have to eat vegetables again, right? And that's basically what jujitsu is like you only have to eat vegetables whenever you feel like eating vegetables instead
Yeah.
of like you need these vegetables to survive. So once you push past that, it becomes a buffet. You can eat whatever you want. So you do have to survive though.
Yeah.
And you do have to accept no matter how good you think you are, you're not there yet. And even if you're the best blue belt in the room, the best white belt in the room, it's like you're still miles
You're
away.
still a white belt.
You're still a white belt, and even if you're a black belt in another sport,
Right.
you're still probably a white belt. And yeah, you just enjoy it. Just
Yeah.
enjoy the misery. And if you can train your brain to enjoy that hard work that you have to go through in the misery and not being the top dog and not being the most alpha motherfucker in the room, you'll realize how much those things don't matter.
Yeah.
And just strip everything away and just be like, it's really fun to wrestle with my friends. It's
Right.
really fun to try to like sneak up a submission on them, and then we call each other names for, oh, this motherfucker wrist locked me. You know, like, ah, you piece of shit. All right, let's go again, you
Well,
know?
like it's funny. I get that even from hearing one of my favorite keep going back to Rogan. One of my favorite Rogan bits is the Protect Our Parks with all the comedians on it.
Hmm.
So you have like Shane Gillis and Mark Norman and Ari Shaffir, and they're all bullshitting and like they're all talking shit on each other because he like he took him to go roll and like Shane like claims that he got Joe like one time. And he's just like, no, you fucking didn't. I'll end your life.
Zero. 0% chance. But yeah, but that camaraderie is like
Exactly.
what
Just like
ends
the
up
hanging
happening,
out.
and it's so fun because, I think, again, kind of touching on a little bit of a socio-political issue, uh, you know, masculinity should be celebrated as much as
Yes.
any other facet of
I'll back that up
our
100%.
identities. And so it's like getting out there and being roughed up and being with the boys and having your off-color jokes that you keep within your little circle because you're
Yeah.
smart enough to know that you shouldn't say those things in society.
Right.
You have
Right.
your little safe space with your friends where you beat each other up and you sweat on each other and you say mean shit to each other.
That's how guys
So that,
are.
yeah,
We
so
go
that
to
when you go
Vegas for the
out into the
bachelor party. No, I'm
world,
kidding.
yeah, you go back into the world and you're like, I'm ready for civilized society.
Right.
I got the beast out of my brain.
Yeah.
I indulged the stupid monkey part of
Yeah.
everything. And now I get to go be a civilized man with a family and a job that I want to be professional at.
Right.
And I don't know about anybody else, but certainly like when you're at an office-esque job that's supposed to be very PC and very clean and sanitized, if you're doing that too much without a break from that, it starts to like God, dude, oh, dude, if I have
Yeah.
to do another HR thing one more time, like
Oh yeah.
I don't care that Becky said this word. I don't need to go to an HR. Like I don't care. But if you go out and you do these things that kind of let all those things out and you go back to that environment and you be like, actually, I kind of appreciate how sanitized it is now. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have to deal with other people's bullcrap here. We're here to do a job. I can move forward, and my brain's not on punching this guy in the face because he's being overly sensitive about some off-color comment some customer
Right.
said to him. I don't care about those things.
It's
And you
not
can at least
toxic
empathize.
masculinity. It is part of human nature and why
Yeah.
we've been here for so long, and it's healthy.
Yeah. There's a reason why so many men exist out there that are like, whether it's getting women or getting money or any like and showing it off and flaunting all those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
There's a reason why those people exist because there is something that needs to be let out and they're not letting it out.
Mm.
So what they do is they barge into society, they bang your girlfriends, they cheat on their partners, they steal money, they screw business partners over and everything, and it's because there's something in them that's not being fulfilled and they're lashing out like a child who's not getting what they want and they need something to ground them back and down to earth with what matters most. And
Need to get
obviously I'm
choked out
very
a little
yeah, and honestly, like it centers you. Like the first ass whooping I ever really got in jiu-jitsu was by a dude who's 120 pounds wet, and I honestly, from a physical standpoint, did not respect. And it was like if I had to fight him, I'd be like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna kill you. And then I started training jiu-jitsu around the same time he did, and he beat the shit out of me all the time. And suddenly my masculinity had to kind of be confronted. And it's like, dude, you're so much bigger than him. You're so much faster and stronger and better at these other things than him. Yet this scrawny dude who's made of glass is beating the crap out of you. And now you have to accept where you are in your life.
bit. Right.
And you have to learn to respect him despite what he presents himself as, what he looks like, or how he acts in his personal life. You have to understand that this guy has life experiences that is now bearing fruit on the mat against you.
Yeah.
And, now I'm getting my ass kicked by a guy who looks like he could be shattered by a stiff breeze. So it's
That's the beauty
like,
of the sport.
and that's the beauty of the sport. And it really teaches you a lot of like silly life lessons that you'd think we would learn through society. But
Right.
society has been so HR'd that we are
God,
now
yeah.
living in that
Exactly.
same bubble, dude, where it's like, fuck, man, like this whole society seems
That
messed
brings
up
us
to
right
me.
back to the beginning of the conversation with the unaliving shit.
Yeah. And it's like we just have to like get all the weight of all these weird expectations that this modern day society is giving us and just go out there and be apes for just a little bit, not a
Yeah.
lot, just a little bit.
Need some animal brain.
Yep. I think it's very healthy. And
What is
yeah.
uh what is one of your favorite quotes and why?
Oh God, I had some put away, and I need a moment to think about it because
Yeah.
there's a few. Um, I think probably the biggest one that kind of impacts my life the most to this day is like just a reference to drops in the bucket. Everything you're doing is drops in the bucket. And then there was one phrase where it was something along the lines of like 1% is infinitely more than 0%.
Mm,
And then that ties back into another phrase where it was doing something poorly is better than not doing something at all, or something
yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I
paraphrasing,
think
can't
that's
remember.
exactly what it was.
Yeah, where it's like, and then the author of this book that said it was referring to like something like innocuous, like brushing your teeth. Like, say you hate brushing your teeth, and if you just don't brush your teeth, you're gonna be screwed. You're gonna have
Hmm.
problems. But if you brush your teeth, just do a little shitty, something
Yeah.
infinitely, literally infinitely better than not doing it at all.
Yeah.
And when you do that with like work or goals or anything, you kind of apply that concept of like little drops in the bucket, just a little bit, one thing a day for each
Yeah.
thing that I love. Whether it's like, say I have three things I love. It's jujitsu, playing a video game, and working out. But I don't have time to do any of those things really well today. But I could do a shitty 20-minute workout. I could do my daily challenges on my favorite video game and just call it a day after 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I can't get to jujitsu class tonight, but I sure can watch a 20-minute video while I'm taking a poop, on Instagram to help me maybe consider a technique a little bit
Yeah.
more. And all those things are not nearly the best efforts we should be able to put into any of those things if we truly love them,
But it's still progress.
but it is still not zero
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
zero means you're on the cusp of regressing.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
so I think that's
That's one of
something
my,
for me.
I mean, on that, that's one of my favorite things that I found recently is like sucking at stuff again. Like
Hmm.
trying
Oh,
new stuff out and sucking. I was like, I haven't sucked at something in so long. This is awesome. I get to learn stuff again. Like
mhm.
this is, yeah, it
Yeah.
was so cool.
That's like as a jiu-jitsu athlete, I had the chance to go to a sambo class, which sambo is another grappling art. Not one I necessarily liked that much, but I went to it and I got this opportunity to just be like, dude, talk to me like I know nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it was nice to just get rid of, again, all the egotistical shit of like, I'm a grappler with this many, accolades, and I've done this and that and this, and you better treat me with respect. No, it's just like, dude, I'm a baby. Treat me like a baby, please. I would
Yeah.
love that. And it's nice to be able to take the time to do that too.
That's fantastic. Um, if you were to write a memoir, what's the title of it?
Uh, shit. uh,
That's pretty much the reaction I get from everybody.
yeah, probably something about like a full circle, right?
Yeah.
Um, did you ever read The Alchemist?
I haven't, but
Oh,
I have an alchemical tattoo.
so The Alchemist is a very popular book. It's a very quick read. It's very thin.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and it's just this tale. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's about this tale of like, a person that is starting his journey and wants a life of adventure and wants to find a treasure. And he goes through this crazy story that leads him all over the world and everything. And at the end of the story, I guess I am going to spoil it, right?
All right,
So I
fine.
guess okay. Anyone watching
Yeah.
this, skip ahead a little
Yeah, go
bit.
blah 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 blah.
So after all this big journey, he kind of gets frustrated with his travels, and he just decides to go back home. And then when he gets home, the exact treasure that he was looking for was buried under the tree that he started his journey at,
Nice.
and he gets everything that he wanted. And because of parkour, I did a lot of traveling
Mhm.
around the United States and looking for my treasure, right? Looking for whatever it was I was looking for. I didn't even know. And I lived in every major state, near every major city in those states, made friends and colleagues and peers and enemies in every single one of those cities along the way, and had crazy life experiences with every belief system you could think of along the way. And at the end of the day, I came back to the desert where I started, maybe not exactly, and I came back to some of the personality traits that I had tried to rage against.
Mm.
and now I'm just at a base level that is fine. I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy. Not like happy, yay, and cheering and like hyped up all the time, but a happy level that like I am at peace and
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
And so something about
It's
that like
everything.
circular journey, it's like I went through all this shit just to come back to the part of the story that I was actually happy at.
Right.
And yeah, so sorry, long-winded answer on
That
that
was
one, but
great.
something about
That
a
was
full
fantastic.
circle.
I love that. That's no, because I think the ultimate is just finding your peace and like again, even just doing the things for the 10% of the day that like really make you happy. And
Yeah.
I mean, luckily, it sounds like we both get to do a good amount of what we love for our careers. And yeah, it's just you don't need to be ecstatic every day. And I was actually part of my last podcast conversation is like, you don't really truly value and know what the good days are until you've had the bad days.
Yeah. And now I'm really good at spotting those good days because I've
Yeah.
had so many literal homelessness, like living
Mm,
in shelters and stuff like that. So it's like losing everything like we talked about with the COVID stuff, where it's
yeah.
like I lost my whole business and everything and had a car, had a place that I was renting that I was very happy with and lost all that stuff. And now I'm here and I'm living in my home, which I love. And is it the perfect home? No. It has plenty of problems that we need to figure out, but it's my slice of the earth.
Hmm.
Nobody gets to come onto this slice of the earth and tell me that this slice of the earth isn't good enough. It's my slice. I'm happy. And there's literally nowhere on this planet that I would rather be than this slice of earth because I've been on a lot of other slices of earth. I've literally been in so many other countries and so many other states and been with so many other people and been on their slices of the earth. And I know for a fact, and not in like an emotional way, like, oh, I think this is it. No, I
Yeah.
know. I've
Yeah.
experienced so much life at my age that like, nope, this is it. I know because I've had way worse,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get better than what I got right now.
Oh, it's
And
man, I'm so happy for you.
thanks. Yeah, it's taken a while.
Yeah, of course, it always does.
40-year-old child, basically, just getting into my young adulthood at the age of 40.
Well, you're a hell of a mature young adult.
Uh, it kind of came all at once. It was like 35 hit, and then all of a sudden I became as mature as I am now.
Fair.
Everything before that, I was just an obnoxious, selfish child. So
It's okay. I'm still that to my wife sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
Let me roll out the kind of the red carpet for you. Tell the people where to find you, what you got going on, all that stuff.
So the big thing that we have going on is we have a bit of a bullying issue down here in the RGV, and we just got our nonprofit kind of all cleaned up and ready to go. So we're holding our first community event, our Jiu-Jitsu Community Day. And we also just had, just a couple days ago, we had a pretty bad bullying issue where a black child was being pretty heavily bullied at a
Hmm.
school. And it was being filmed from multiple angles, multiple
Oof.
people around. Nobody did anything about it.
Yeah,
This
of
kid
course not.
was everything you'd think that would happen to a kid in that scenario that happens to be black happened to him. And so, with that in mind, the event that I had already planned is now we're kind of refocusing that on like a tap bullying out type scenario
Love
where it's
that.
like, so we're gonna have lots of games and we're gonna invite the community out to have some fun, learn a little bit about grappling and jujitsu. And if you already do grappling and jujitsu, just come have fun. We're gonna have a silly, like weird themes to the tournaments. It's not gonna be a traditional like go out there and go your hardest to try to beat people. It's like no, we're gonna have weird rules. We're gonna have weird games. We're gonna have spike ball tournament. I got a really low to the ground net, so we're gonna have to play guard volleyball where you have to be in some kind of jujitsu guard while you're
That's
playing.
fun.
So we're gonna have food, games, drinks, give out raffles and prizes, and if people want to donate, they can donate. If they just want to come and share in the festivities, we can. But all proceeds that we're trying to do is gonna go to directly. Well, I've been in contact with that family, and we're trying to help that kid out and give him and his family an opportunity to get as many free lessons as they want, but also push us forward to our own facility where we're going to be able to do this more and more and more. Again, we're a nonprofit. We're not charging for any of this stuff, so we have to get funding somewhere. So we're looking for grants, we're looking for donations, and all that
Yeah.
other stuff.
How do people donate to you?
They can contact me on Facebook or Instagram. On Instagram, it's at the Blacklisted, and blacklisted is kind of spelled weird. It's BLCKLSTD. So the Blacklisted.
All
Um,
stylized.
Yeah, kind of. Well, we didn't have a choice. Blacklisted
Yeah,
is a very
yeah, yeah.
popular name, and
Right,
there's
right.
no other version of it that existed that we could
Well, I
get.
have snowmanfilms.net. Some fucker has .com.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So, yeah, so we had to kind of get the funky name, but we're on there. If anybody wants to communicate with me on that, that's fine. Or find me, Ian William, on Facebook, and you can communicate with me there. I don't want to give out any of the information to the family. They were already getting flooded by people,
yeah.
good and bad, about what happened to them. So I'll keep that kind of to myself. But
You guys
yeah, we're
have a
doing it
website
at
at all? Or is it just on social?
we're working on the website right now.
Cool.
So we're working on that. That'll get done hopefully soon. But everything else is set up and ready to go. It's
For the person listening to this in a year from now, what's the website?
hopefully blacklistedacademy.com. We'll
Sweet.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
even
gonna
if
be
you
a
just do that Google, I'm sure it'll show up.
yeah. And we're gonna do it at a gym called 8020 for this first event, and it's gonna be on May 17th. So yeah, if anybody wants
Sweet.
to pitch in or be a part of it or come out and hang out or just show support, whatever, that's it.
It's a great cause, and you're doing good work out there, man.
Thank you, sir.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for hanging, and for everybody watching and listening, I will see you next time.